Hi, Mr. Richards here. Today we're going to learn about a concept called simple interest. Well, what is simple interest? Interest is money paid or earned for the use of money. What is principal? Well, besides the school principal, this type of principal is money you have deposited in a bank or borrowed from a bank. When you use a credit card, you're borrowing money from a bank. Thus, you have to pay interest to use that money. If you're getting a mortgage or a car loan, that also comes with interest. The principal is that amount you're borrowing. The interest is the money you're paying to use that money. Or if you're saving money and you put the money in the bank, well, the bank's going to use that money to save themselves. And they'll pay you interest to use that money. Now, we have a simple interest formula that we can solve for, where I is interest, P is the principal, R is the rate as a decimal, and T is the time, and the key here is that time has to be in years. Let's take a look at our first example. Jenny puts $1,560 into a savings account. The account pays 2.5% simple interest. How much interest will she earn in 3 years? Let's start first by defining our variables. I is interest, and that's the thing we don't know, so we'll just be keeping that as a variable. P is the principal. Well, the principal, remember, is the money that you put in or borrow. In this case, you're putting in $1,560. R is the rate, and this rate is 2.5%, but remember, this has to be written as a decimal. So you're going to move your decimal place 2 points to the left, and this rate then becomes 0.025 to be written as the decimal. Your T is time in years, and it's given to you in years, so that's going to be 3. Now, start with I equals P times R times T. Interest is what you're solving for. Your principal was $1,560 times 0.025 times 3. When you multiply these numbers together, I equals 117 or $117. So your answer, $117. One of the keys in solving this type of problem is defining your variables so you know what you're solving for. So starting with your list of the variables becomes very important so you're able to use the formula correctly. Let's move on. Jose's savings account pays 3.25% interest. He has $1,200 in his account. How much interest will he earn in 9 months? 9 months in bold, because that's going to be really important that we do the right thing there. Let's once again start off by going with our variables. I equals, P equals, R equals, T equals. Well, our interest is what we're solving for, so we'll just be keeping that as an I in our formula. The P is the principal, the $1,200 he has in his account. The rate is 3.25%, but again, remember, we need to move our decimal point over twice to the left so that we have 0.0325. Our time here is 9 months. Now remember back that T has to be in years. Well, in order to get this into years, think, how many months are in a year? Well, 12. How many of those months do I have? 9. So my time is 9/12 of a year, or I can simplify that and call it 3/4 of a year, or even 0.75 of a year, 75/100ths of a year. Well, now I have everything I need. So we'll start with I equals PRT, the interest we're solving for. The principal is $1,200. Our rate is 0.0325, and our time 3/4 or 9/12 or 0.75. You can use any of those three. When you multiply these numbers together, I equals 29 and 25/100ths, or $29.25 is the interest he has earned. One of the key mistakes that I see on this type of problem, T equals 9 months. We have to get that into years, whether it's 9/12, 3/4, or 75/100ths of a year. That's what you need to do. As we move on to example 3, Mrs. Hanover borrows $1,400 at a rate of 5.5% per year. How much simple interest will she pay if it takes 8 months to repay the loan? Let's once again start off by defining our variables. I equals, P equals, R equals, T equals. We're once again looking for simple interest. The principal is not only the money you can put into the bank, but the money you can borrow, so it's $1,400. Our rate, 5.5%. Get that as a decimal by moving the decimal place over 2 spots to the right to get 0.055. And your time here is 8 months. And remember, time has to be in years. So this can be 8/12, which, if you wanted to simplify, 4/6 if you divide by 2, or if you divide by 4, you get 2/3, which as a decimal is 0.6 repeating. Now we're ready to use our formula. So I equals PRT. Our interest is going to equal our principal of $1,400 times our rate, 0.055, times, I'm just going to write in 8/12 as a reminder that that's 8 months out of 12 in 1 year. You could write it as 2/3, 4/6, 0.66666 repeating. Either way, when you solve this out and multiply it out, you would get 51 and 3 repeating. Now to finish this, let's look at our pennies place, or also known as our hundredths place, and the one next to it. Is the 3 in the thousands place going to round the 3 in the hundredths or pennies place up? No. So our final answer is interest equals 51 and 33/100ths, or, since we're dealing with money, $51.33. Again, remember to move your decimal place over for your percentage to get as a decimal, and keep your months into years by writing it over 12. In example 4, we're going to take a look at how interest can be applied with a credit card. An office manager charged $425 worth of office supplies on a credit card. The credit card has an interest rate of 9 9/10%. How much money will he owe at the end of 1 month if he makes no other charges on the card and does not make a payment? Let's set up our variables again. The interest we still need to look for. We need to find how much interest he's going to be charged. The principal is the amount of money he's borrowing, which is $425. The rate is 9 9/10%. And again, move that decimal place over twice to the left, and you get 0.099. Your time is 1 month, which is actually 1/12 of a year. Now, let's put this in to our interest formula. I equals PRT. The interest we're solving for still. The principal is $425. The rate is 0.099. And our time is 1/12. When you multiply these together, our interest being charged for the 1 month is 3.50625. Now, that's the interest being charged. We have to add this back to the principal to see how much money he will owe, because he has to pay, or she has to pay, the $425 and the interest. So $425.00 plus $3.50 with this little bit of extra hanging out is going to equal $428.50 and this extra. Now what are we going to do with the extra? Look at that pennies place, which is the 0. Look 1 to the right of it. And is that 6 going to round the 0 up? Yes, it's above 5, so our final answer is $428.51. As we move on to the last example, Maggie is taking out a student loan for $2,600. She plans on paying off the loan in 3 years. At the end of 3 years, Maggie will have paid $390 in interest. What is the simple interest rate on the student loan? Well, in this last example, we're actually solving not for interest, but for the rate. So let's start this as we started every problem so far by defining our variables I, P, R, and T. We actually know the interest this time. We know the interest is going to be $390. We also know that she took out the principal, which is $2,600. We're actually solving for the rate this time, so that's just going to stay R. And our time is 3 years. And since our time needs to be in years, and it already is, we do not need to do anything more to that. So let's go to our formula, I equals PRT. Our interest was $390. Our principal was $2,600. Our rate is R, and our time is 3. Let's go ahead and simplify what we can on the right side of the formula. We can look at this 2,600 and this 3 and multiply them together. The 390 is going to stay on the left side, equals, again, 2,600 times 3 is going to equal 7,800, and we're still left with our R. Well, now we have a one-step equation we need to solve for. We want to get our R alone. So if we divide by 7,800 on both sides, this cancels. We're left with R equals on the right side, and 390 divided by 7,800 gets us 0.05. Now, that is our interest rate. To finish the question, though, let's get this back to a percent. Move this decimal place over twice to the right, and we end up with 5%. So on a student loan of $2,600, paid off in 3 years with $390 in interest, Maggie's interest rate was 5%.